another episode of Trans Confessions, a very queer journey. You're on episode 23. In today's episode, we've got some very interesting topics for everyone, so hopefully you'll all stay tuned and you get an opportunity to meet someone who I think is really, really incredible. But before we get started, I want to let everybody know that's my dog, who's extremely irritating. I am your host, Jynx the Wonder Girl. I am here to entertain you, inform you, educate you, whatever. Makes no difference to me whatsoever. But I am here regardless. This is a very adult oriented show. I swear, I curse, I say very triggering topics, we talk about very triggering things, so viewer discretion is always advised. If you are under the age of 21, honestly, this is not the show for you. But if you stick around anyway, well, that's your problem, not mine. So we stream live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 Central Standard Time. Sometimes I skip an episode, but I try to make up for it in the following episode. Now, we are closing the season. Season 1 is coming to an end, everybody. So I will probably be ending my season next Friday. Will be my last real episode before I go in for surgery. So you'll get 3 more episodes out of me, and then a fourth after the surgery is over, which will be a pre-recorded episode documenting my journey through this upcoming surgery that I'm about to have. Now, if you have the inkling to watch this after the live show, you can always catch these shows on demand. The website's linked in your screen below. It's cyberjinx.me. You can go and catch all of my episodes on demand. They'll be there forever. And you get some other great information that's actually in the blog post itself. So websites, links, anything I put up there as far as information we've researched will go into the description as well. We try to do it for the other sites like YouTube, whatever, but sometimes it doesn't work. So again, we do stream live. We stream live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and sometimes TikTok, although TikTok does not get to participate like everybody else does, and I do apologize for that. Now, without further ado, let's go on with our show. So today we have a guest, and this again is part of my program for trans visibility for the entire year. Not just a day, I want it to be an entire year. We are a big, huge, integral part of society. There are a lot more of us than I think people realize, and I want to make sure that they're seen that we are just like everybody else. We hold jobs, we run businesses, we educate, we're educated, whatever the case might be. So let's go ahead and get my guest on here. So my first guest, her name is Jerrica. Her pronouns are she, her. So let's bring her on. Jerrica, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to, field some questions, whether they're from me or sometimes from the viewers. Jerrica, can you give us a little bit of a background about you? Just a quick synopsis before we go into the actual interview part.
Um, Hi, everyone. I'm Jerrica. I'm from Central Ohio. I was born and raised in Ohio. Yes, it's a pretty red state, but Columbus is a pretty safe. I live in a community on the west side that has protections for gender. I really think that Ohio needs more of that, but we'll see where we go. Um, I'm a I'm 37 years old and I have an identical twin brother, not so identical anymore, obviously, but I'm proud to be a twin. Um, I'm a co-owner of a company called Weatherusa. We do weather information consulting services, anything from like customized weather reports to customized emails, phone calls, etc. And we have our own weather platform. Um, let's see. I'm a little bit on the autism spectrum, and I embrace every day my authenticity and work to have a harmony in my life. Program in emotional intelligence has really helped me with my mindset for my life.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So you had mentioned that you are part owner of a business. I think that's amazing. I love entrepreneurial spirited people. I am one myself. So let's learn a bit more about that. So you said the company's called Weather USA. What does Weather USA do, and how are you a part of it?
Um, I'm a part of it. Well, my business partner is more the entrepreneur. I'm the doer, while he's the entrepreneur. Sometimes I need help. Um, we do everything from consulting services. My role is more of a data manager, since that's my niche. A lot of friends say that um, computer programming is my baby, and that's what I'm really good at. Even though I went to school at the Ohio State University for meteorology, I picked up computer programming on my own.
That's impressive. I mean, for those who are out there who are watching, we have a lot of information technology and cyber people, gamers and stuff like that, who watch this show. And yeah, I mean, they get it. Like programming languages are difficult to understand and learn. So to go out there and self teach, and learn these things, I think is amazing. I was never able to do that. I do programming and a lot of stuff. I had to go to school. Like I was like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. These things were very, very foreign to me because I mean, it is. It's like a foreign language. So I think that's amazing. I think what your company does, I did have a chance to go look at the website, kind of see what it is. It's very fascinating, the services that are offered, and honestly, how important they are. There's so many businesses that are out there that I know that are weather dependent. You got everything from, fishing and exploring companies, tour guides and stuff that'd be very weather dependent. You've got flight systems, airlines, private flying, all very weather dependent. I didn't even know this until very recently. The trains, like, who thinks of trains these days? The trains and how they move or restore, also very weather dependent. So you guys bring a very valuable service that helps so many other things that we depend on in everyday life, and I think that's awesome. Um, so how long have you been working or part of that company?
Um, we be, we became an LLC in 2012, and I've been working part time since then, and I've been working full time since summer 2019.
Okay, wonderful. That's great news. So it's been around for a while. It's not like it's a new business. You're a very established business. Are you allowed to talk about how many clients you have or the kind of clientele you service?
Let's see. Let me pull that up real quick.
All right, sounds good.
Let's see. We have about mm, we have about 5,000 paid subscribers, 2,000 custom and custom, and then um about 20, and then about 20 people that have our light service.
That's amazing. Like, wow, that's a lot of customers. So you guys provide services to basically nearly 5,000 people, 2,000 of which are enterprise.
And
That's
then we have
awesome.
95, and then we have like 96,000 free subscribers.
Wow. Holy moly. So you guys are quite popular. Well, hopefully, doing this show, and of course, we're going to go ahead and plug and boost your company's name on my website as well. It'll bring you that many more customers. So for those folks who are listening and watching, weatherusa.com is the website, correct?
Weatherusa.net.
.net, I'm sorry.
We're trying to get weatherusa.com.
Okay. So weatherusa.net, obviously all spelled out. I think that's amazing. So yes, we will definitely post that on the website. It'll be in the blog as well, just so that people can find it very easily. So when you guys go to look for the on-demand trans confession episodes, right there in the description, you're going to see the link to it. And I think that's awesome. So let's kind of move away from what you're doing. I think that you're an amazing business person. You're an amazing entrepreneur, and you are a perfect example of how trans people do really become part of the integral needed parts of life and society. So I want to get more
And
into
oh,
who
one
you
more
are.
thing to mention is
Yeah,
my business is affiliated with the State Climate Office of Ohio, and I just got back home from a meeting this morning.
that's cool. So like you guys actually give the government information. That's amazing. That's really amazing. So I know my viewers because they always want to know and they always want to ask. Usually the questions come in after the show, but that's fine too. So I try to ask which ones are appropriate because I know I don't like some of the questions I get asked. I'm not going to do the same thing to you. As far as personal, so when did you begin your transition?
I started hormone replacement therapy on April 7th, 2018. I made this decision to see get a gender counselor and a um, take steps to see a doctor that specializes in HRT or trans healthcare back in December 2017.
Okay. And obviously the reasons vary, but they generally follow the same thread, if you will, as to why we begin our journeys. But I want to know if you could really give us any insight as to why you began yours.
Actually had a. I feel like there was something missing in me since I was 8 years old. It took a traumatic event in 2013 to realize and explore cross dressing to find my authentic self. The more I cross dress, the more authentic I felt, and um, I've looking back, I feel like I've become a better person and um, straightened out my life.
I like I like the straightened out part. um, your story is very similar to many stories I've heard in the past, and obviously has a lot of similarities to my own. Um, Would you care to discuss, since you've begun your journey, since you begun your transition, things that you've felt or experienced at time?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
Absolutely. Would you care to discuss some of the things that you've experienced in your journey since you began it?
Let's see. Um, I had some disagreements with my family. Now my mother and my twin brother are some of my best supporters. Um, my when I first um, came out, my dad was like, "I won't support it. I won't endorse it, and I never want to see you the other way." And when I came out personally on Facebook, my dad sent me a text saying goodbye, and that really hit me hard. Um, and then um, my dad just had like, my dad and I would have like short conversations since then when I was home for the holidays. And like, just after COVID in 2020, we went out to eat as a family again for the first time and since then. And like, that really hit me in the feels, and I was so happy. Um, my dad and I don't really talk much on the phone, but we find it better to catch up in person.
That's that's very moving, and obviously, I'm sorry you ever had to deal with that. But I'm also happy that at least it sounds like it's had a good ending. Um, I think we all know like how this works. Um, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon that I can tell anyway that we have one issue or another with family and friends.
Mhm.
And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Um, but it does sound like it's getting better for you. I mean, that's accurate.
Mhm.
It's getting better.
Mhm.
Okay.
Actually, I haven't seen my parents since Christmas, and I'll see them on a little bit Sunday.
That's good news. I'm glad to hear that. Um, I know it's a very tough journey for a lot of us, and not necessarily all of us. I do want to make sure people understand that it's not always all of us that are experiencing these things. Sometimes people have a wonderful experience when they come out, when they transition. But I think it's important for those to realize, both trans and non trans, cisgender people, that,
Mhm.
yeah, we all deal with a lot of negativity just trying to be ourselves. I think it harkens back to some of the arguments I've seen made against transgendered folks that, this is a fad or this is just the new thing to do or this is the cool thing to do. And I was like, well, I didn't know being picked on and screamed at and assaulted or physically beaten was the cool thing to do. But if that's the case, yeah, I'm the coolest fucking person in the world. Um, this is not a trend. This is something that we do because we're trying to realize ourselves. And JJ, I just want you to know I am so proud of you for all that you've accomplished and for being brave enough to come on here and talk to me and talk to my viewers and my watchers about your experiences. I think you have a fantastic life. Um, it's fascinating the kind of work that you get to do and how many other businesses and people you help. I mean, 96,000 people subscribe to your free service because it's useful. You've helped create something so useful for people. That's amazing. I think that's really amazing. Um, I got a couple of questions that came in by email. If you're okay with answering them, they want to know how far have you transitioned this far? Have you completed your transition? Are you still partially through? Are you okay with talking about that?
I'm okay with talking about that. I'm 4 years into HRT. I I just completed bottom surgery about 8 weeks ago. Um, I don't see myself having any more surgeries. I think the only thing that gives me dysphoria is some body hair. So that's going to be something that I work on in my free time.
Okay, I think that's amazing. You've had bottom surgery. That's great. How did you feel? I mean, obviously, surgery doesn't make everyone feel great. Usually, you feel groggy and crappy. But as far as when you healed, um, how have you? How do you feel now? Do you feel more complete, more whole?
Yes, actually, um, I feel amazing right now, and um, I just love how I look as a woman that I've meant to be.
That's that's beautiful. And
Hmm.
thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing that with the viewers too. I look forward to the day because I mean I want bottom surgery. Um, I have a long way to go. I know I have a long way to go. So it's nice to be able to talk to other people, specifically people like you that have already done so, because it gives me both courage and hope that it's going to happen one day. So I'm sure that there are other trans folks that are out here listening. They're like, this gives me hope. I hope it does. I wanted to give you the opportunity before this segment ends. Do you have any other things that you wanted to discuss or share with our viewers?
Mm, I don't have really have anything specifically.
Okay. Well, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. I think it's been a phenomenal interview. You're a great person. I hope this helps your business. I hope this helps you. And please never hesitate to reach out. You've got my email. I would love to have discussions with you whenever, and maybe we can have you back on. Maybe your business will get like a
Okay.
big boom and be like, hey, look what we did, um, which would be great. So, again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I really hope you enjoy yourself.
Yep, you too. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Bye, JJ. JJ is such a wonderful person. And I am so happy that she took the time to join us today to answer a few questions, to talk about her great business. And, I think I'm going to do the same. I hear a lot and quite often during my interactions on social media, my interactions online, my interactions with people on TikTok, my interactions with people on YouTube, whatever the case may be, I do hear often that this is a fad, that this is a trend, this is just the media pushing some kind of agenda, the gay agenda, the trans agenda. And, I laugh. I laugh because I can. I laugh at it because of how ridiculous and stupid that sounds. Because it does. That sounds very ridiculous. This is not a trend. Being transgender is not a fad. Transgendered folks have existed since mankind has existed. We are not a mistake. We are not some horrible mental disease. We're not some thing that needs to be cataloged in a book or talked about in medical science. We're people. That's all we are. We're just people. We're people who program useful tools that are used by 5,000 businesses, 2,000 of which are large enterprise scale businesses. We are people who teach your children math and science and art, technology. We're your college professors. Shit, we're your taxi cab drivers. We're your Uber. And you never know, we might be your date Saturday night. We have the same feelings that everybody else does. We have the same wishes and wants that everybody else does. But here's where we are different. This is what sets most trans people apart, in my personal and professional opinion, than any cisgender person I've ever known or met. We have something to prove. The behavior and the audacity and just the general stingy meanness that we face as people have driven us to have to essentially prove the worthiness of our existence. Some of the bravest people I've ever met, outside and inside the military, are trans people. Every day might be their last. Given the numbers last year of transgendered people reported who were unalived, murdered for being trans, coupled with the amount that were misreported or just not reported, are staggering. They're staggering. I hate to say this the way I'm going to say it, because I know it's going to come across as crass and maybe even a little bit mean. But I've never met a white cisgendered male who has to walk down the street fearful that someone is going to kill them just because they exist. I've never met not one who's ever had that fear, rationally or irrationally. Every single trans person I've ever had the honor of speaking with that is transgendered does legitimately have that fear. We don't go around going into conservative pages, trolling around, telling them that they're privileged and everything else like that. But as you can see from the screenshot of the video on my live, here we got Mr. Gerardo walks in and says, blah, 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 as usual, you people love playing the victim. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. These are people who specifically target and attack transgendered people, make them fearful for their own existence, make them want to crawl back into a hole and hide. This is every day, folks. People just like this. Every single day. Hundreds, if not thousands of times a day. Both in digital worlds, like this guy's coming on YouTube, or this person's coming from a YouTube viewer, to real life. I can't go for my morning walks without getting called a freak, without being called a pervert, without being called a pedophile. I've had rocks thrown at me just for walking down the street. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm not invading people's spaces. I'm going for a morning walk. Now, when I go speak to my fellow transgendered brothers, sisters, and non binary people, I'm not alone. They all experience very similar, if not the same exact thing: fear. Fear because they exist. We're told that we're not valid. Our experience is fake. Our experience is a lie. It's a trend. That's what we're told. I'm told that by my political counterparts all of the time. I get people who are Democrats or leftists that walk up and automatically assume, oh, I must be because, that particular political party is nicer or kinder, or at least more vocal about trans and gay rights. They're not. They could be just as violent and abusive as the conservative evangelical side of things, and far more manipulative. But whether I'm debating someone who's a Democrat or I'm debating somebody who's a Republican, the hateful comments tend to be very similar. My existence is not valid and only works because of other people's support. And this only furthers the stereotype that allows these negative, mean people like Mr. Gerardo to walk in and make unbiased, uneducated statements and claims, like fatherless activity. I hear that one all the time. Or go to get a job. Why don't you work for a living? Why does everyone have to support you? Well, I have a job, several. I run 2 businesses, one of which I'm about to sell. I've employed upwards of 160 people and gave them jobs. I did 20 years of military service, which I will collect a full retirement from in less than a year. I've done a lot of things. You know what? I look at all these other transgender folks that I'm friends with or acquainted with, so have they. They're developers, they're designers, artists, programmers, professors, teachers, doctors, nurses. They do all sorts of wonderful things, providing beautiful things for our society. And yet, this is what we deal with on a daily basis, people. Idiots. Uneducated, brainless idiots that come in and say terrible things. This is what they do. Your dad must have abused you. You got raped, or you got sexually assaulted, or you were whatever when you were a kid. No, that's not always the case. Is it the case with some folks? Sure. It is most of the case that a traumatic event of one kind or another is often what makes us remember things that we have repressed. So I wanted to go a little bit into that to show that we're all just normal people. We all deal with these things. How we realize ourself may be different, but the path and the story is still valid. How you knew or how you became aware of your true self as a transgender person will never ever invalidate you. It is your story and you should own it. I appreciate Jerrica, for being brave enough to come on and tell her story and show folks in this episode, yes, her plus so many others I have interviewed or will interview in the future are proof positive that we are normal, valid members of society. We do everything cisgender people do, and sometimes more, because we do feel like we have to prove our existence. We feel like it is necessary to be above and beyond what most people would do, because if we don't, then we're considered invalid. Then we're They're looked at by society at large as a nuisance or a drain. And I don't think that's fair. When you see us out there fighting for our right to exist, or asking for governments to pass laws specifically saying, hey, we really like it if you made sure that as part of the laws that are already on the books that it's not really okay to unalive trans people just because you were scared. A lot of people out there have made the claims in the past that trans people are looking for exceptional or above and beyond rules or laws or other things because we think we're special. And no, out of every activist site I've previewed, out of every pamphlet I've ever read or been handed or picked up that talks about transgender people fighting for their right to exist, we are not asking for any additional rights than anybody else already has. They're literally asking for the same. So let me give everyone here an example. There are many states, not just southern ones, northern ones too, that have trap laws. Now, we call them trap laws. That's not necessarily what they are on the books. A trap law is a law that basically states that anybody who commits homicide in self-defense because they feel like they were trapped or tricked into sexual intercourse or intimacy with someone they did not want to, specifically that of the same sex. So they weren't actually targeting transgender people specifically with these stupid ass laws. They were actually targeting gay men. It evolved into cross-dressers and transgendered folks and transvestites and everything else, more or less stating under the Castle Doctrine in some states, the stand your ground laws, that if you are a upstanding evangelical conservative man who happens to get aroused by a transgender woman or a cross-dresser in some cases, or hell, even another dude, and then all of a sudden you become aware and embarrassed of your actions, like, oh, I'm hammered and I'm hitting on this guy or I'm hitting on this transgender woman, and now I'm going to find out, oh, society's going to judge me because I got turned on by someone legitimately and there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to bash this person's skull in and bludgeon them and then dump their body in a ditch. And then when I get caught, I can say, oh, it's the trap defense. They tricked me. They tricked me and I felt threatened and I had to stop them and defend myself. There are so many states where that is the law. Lots of them. It is perfectly acceptable and your lawyer will get you off the hook with negligent homicide as the maximum sentence. That's it. You will go scot-free. No jail time. Maybe some probation and some anger management classes, and that's pretty much it. Meanwhile, someone's life, someone's baby, someone's daughter, son, or non-binary child was just murdered. They will never come back. There's no recompense to restore that person's life that you ended. These are the laws. These are the rights that trans people, as well as gay people, have been fighting for hell forever. We want to be protected just like everybody else. That's all these pamphlets, these protests, these legal and political activist groups have been fighting for. They're not asking for anything above and beyond. End the trap laws. End the trap defense. It is inappropriate. It's not right. I don't think that that's asking for anything special. I don't think that's asking for anything above and beyond what everybody else already has. Now, the thing is, most people have come back and said, well, you have the right to defend yourself. Do we? Do we? I don't think we do. There are several cases, not necessarily against transgendered women. These were against gay men specifically, who were hitting on somebody. That person was hitting on them back. Someone walked in, found this person who was hitting on them back, made fun of them. That person then attempts to beat this gay person half to death, to protect their frail, fragile freaking being from being judged by someone else for, well, probably being a closet homo. And that person has attempted to defend themselves either with a personal sidearm, a taser, pepper spray, and that person, through the same trap defense, ends up getting prosecuted for abuse, violence, attempted murder with a deadly weapon, whatever the case might be. Still, the original perpetrator gets off scot-free under the trap defense. The person who, thank God, survived their assault is now going to spend time in jail or pay huge fines for defending themselves. So I always ask, do we? Do we have the right to defend ourselves? No, I don't think we do. Now, the states that have these defenses, where these defenses have worked pretty well in the past, they'd be like, well, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Montana, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Oregon, and California. For those folks that think that California is the vestige of leftist progressive ideologies and social wonderland, no. California was the site of the worst gay hospital, which is basically a prison and internment camp for gay people, that ever existed. And it's still there. There were many, many gay and transgender people who were sent to this hospital as life sentences for being mentally ill and unstable, where they were tortured forever until they die. That hospital is still there, and it is in California. So, that being said, I think it goes back to when my mom used to teach me when I was a kid, like, we can't judge a book by its cover, sweetie. Well, my mom was right. You can't. Sure, the cover of California looks like it's a very liberal, very socially acceptable state to live in. It's not. It never was. Just as crass, just as mean, just as violent, and just as trolly as pretty much anywhere you go. Now, do you legally have a leg to stand on in California to defend yourself from, well, shit like this? Sure. You've got attorneys that will definitely help you, assuming you live long enough to use them. Now, I think it's impressive that I do have a viewership as high as I do. Maybe not right now, just because it's lunch. People aren't watching right now. But I get enough statistical views between my different sites. I know how many times my videos are being watched. I know roughly the audience who is watching them. And surprisingly so, on TikTok, it's about 85% women, or people who identify as women, and the rest are other or men. On YouTube, it's mostly men. Same thing with Twitch. It's mostly men who are watching there. About 99% men who are watching these things. And I noticed that the women will comment. TikTok, I get lots of comments from women. Tons. On the platforms that are majority men, I don't. But what I do get is a bunch of reports. My videos get reported over 600 times a month by men. So I would ask this question, and I enjoy emails or responses to my videos on these platforms, and I am aiming these questions specifically at cisgendered men. Why? Why am I so threatening to you? What about my demeanor or the things I'm saying are threatening your way of life? Rather than reporting my videos unsuccessfully, because it's never going to work. I don't care how many times you report my material, how many times you report my lives, you're never going to silence me. I don't care. I'll be back the very next day. Because all I have to do is prove your misogyny and your bigotry, which takes literally mere seconds. And whatever things you had to say to get my videos reported are immediately retracted. So I would ask in a very civil manner, tell me, Tell me why. You can email me too. My email's right on my website. If you want to maintain some sense of anonymity and you would prefer using a fake email address to send me your reasons that I'm so threatening and dangerous to you, I had someone tell me today that that's the real reason why we call it transphobia, or the real reason we call it homophobia. Because, of course, you get all the homophobes and the transphobes out there like, I'm not afraid of you. You're not. Well, I find it awfully funny that you have to pass all of these laws, or try to pass all of these laws, preventing me from existing, or preventing younger people who are just like me from existing. We must stop this at all costs. I don't know. That sounds like fear to me. When you make the statements that transgendered people and people of the LGBTQIA with their numerous numbers of genders are threatening the very fabric of society, well, there you go, sweetie. You just said it. Threatening your fabric of society. Well, tough shit. We ain't going anywhere. And this particular transgender woman, I don't give a damn how many stupid ass laws you pass. I will still be trans. I will still be trans very, very openly and vocally. And I will still be trans enough that your children who are also trans are going to feel comfortable enough that they can come out too and be them real selves. Whether you fucking like it or not. Deal with it. We could be adults. We could be adults about this, or you could be children and be petty. Now, I prefer to be adults. Being an adult's way more fun. Let's be honest. Hi, Rena. Thank you so much for joining. We are doing our show live right now, so thank you for joining on TikTok. If you want to be more interactive with the video and see the things I'm showing, you're going to have to watch on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter. But I am going to bring up some funny videos. I think it's all in good fun. Now, it is not uncommon to have some of these silliest, stupidest things that ever existed get passed into law. I don't know why that is, but it is. So the video I'm going to bring up specifically talks about the stuff going on in Tennessee. Tennessee is an embarrassment right now because they saw the executive actions that Texas did, the nonsense that Florida pulled, and they're like, you know what? Hold my beer. So, enjoy.
What is going on in Tennessee? It's like they saw Texas and Florida being super homophobic and they were like, hey, us too. Because they proposed a new anti-gay marriage bill that even some Republicans were like, I don't know about this. Basically, House Bill 233 would allow a man and a woman to file marriage contracts based on common law principles that are not yet legally recognized in Tennessee, but same-sex couples would not be eligible for the contracts. Basically, the bill specifically says man and woman. But some people paying attention noticed something else about the bill, like how it didn't have an age restriction, which could create a loophole that would allow common law marriage to children. Now that oversight has since been amended. It has been changed to say 18 and up. And Republicans in Tennessee are like, how could you even think that we would want, to be able to marry children? How could we think that?
We have a representative who's an admitted child molester. He is on tape for 20 minutes apologizing to one of his victims. He was a teacher and a girls basketball coach. He molested 3 of his basketball players.
It's Representative John Rose from Tennessee. He married a child, or he groomed a child and married her on her 17th birthday. What happened there?
He met her when she was underage and she was in FFA, Future Farmers of America. And then I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but created some program for her or whatever, then married her when she was 21.
Yeah. How could we possibly think that you would want to marry children? But same-sex couples is the problem.
So, I'm not sure if everyone can hear that or not on the TikTok side, but I know everyone watching my regular podcast certainly could. That's disgusting. And it's very, very common. Surprisingly common how often this has happened, not just in Tennessee, in a lot of places. Now, I'm not saying that all the people who fall into this category are necessarily Republicans, because there are plenty of examples of Democratic leadership doing the exact same thing. Now, if I look at the numbers, sheer statistical numbers of how many times this has been on either party line, well, yeah, the lion's share certainly seem to fall on the, not necessarily Republican, but the ultra conservative evangelical side of things. So yeah, the people who are supposed to be preaching Jesus' love are apparently just shooting Jesus' love all over a bunch of kids. Ew. So, yeah, I get called, and this is my favorite thing in the world, because this is definitely a byproduct of Texas and Florida's stupid ass laws and executive actions. I've been called no less than 50 times by people who come in and troll my videos or my comments or my lives. I'm a groomer. A groomer? I don't think so. This example from the video shows very well who the actual groomers are. Trying to pass laws, one, very, very anti-gay laws for that matter, but then squeaking in as a slight, small earmark, oh yeah, the restriction for age is removed by this new bill. Now, for those people who live in states that don't have common law basically means, like here in Texas, Texas is a common law married state, and that common law extends to anybody. And it often surprises people too. So Texas has common law that after a certain amount of time has passed, a contract agreement can be written between those two people that they are now married. It doesn't require an officiation. It doesn't require going to the justice of the peace. You don't have to go to a church or a priest. Just because both parties agree that they are married, you are now married by law in that state. Nothing to hydrate with, Heather, but thank you for the warning. You're now married in that state. My wife and I were common law married, 9 years ago. We never went to a church. We never had a ceremony. We just common law married. We both agreed this was the best thing we needed to do. What Tennessee was trying to do was make it so, because they don't have that, they didn't have that the same common law practice contract is acceptable under state law, but only between a man and a woman. So heterosexual couples only. Oh, and by the way, yes, let's go ahead and remove that pesky age restriction, because, we evangelical conservatives love grooming small girls so we can marry them when they're 14 or 15, and then, discard them justly when they're old enough and we don't want them anymore. Because ew. And they call us the child predators. They call us the perverts. I don't think so. And that's pretty much proof positive of it. Now, there have been lots of defenses out there coming from the right, but mostly the ultra-conservative right, trying to defend the actions of the people who wrote this fucking bill the way it was. Now, granted, the age restriction was put back on, thank goodness, but still, I can't think of a more homophobic law you can possibly pass. So, another content creator on TikTok that I follow, they're great, really drives it home on the stupidity of some of our elected officials and how they go about essentially trying to manipulate and groom the kinds of people they want.
What's up, fuckers? It's tea time. Okay, present day, it's 2022, and Florida Republicans' current narrative is that the dirty Dems are indoctrinating children with information about butt coitus and a panoply of genders. Not the case, but Republicans love lies, so the truth dies. Now, put a pin in that sumbitch. Back in 2011, Tennessee legislators were set on dismantling science education in their public schools. The Tennessee House voted by a 70-23 margin in favor of a fucking ridiculous bill to teach the controversy about scientific subjects like biological evolution and global warming. The bill is HB 368, aka the Monkey Bill, which became law in 2012 and was brought to you by a Republican named Bill Dunn. He must go to the barber and say, take a little off the temple. But rising scalp levels aren't all Bill should be worried about. Rising sea levels are a threat even more so now than they were back then. But we wouldn't want to do anything to offend white Jesus with scientific facts. Basically, Bill's bill allows science teachers to explore controversial topics without fear of reprisal. In other words, it enables K through 12 teachers to present intelligent design and creationalism as acceptable alternatives to evolution in the classroom. We're enhancing critical thinking by offering the Bible in schools as a literal fact comparison to science. Creationalism, the belief that the universe and living organisms originate from specific acts of divine creation, like when God made Adam and Steve. And I think intelligent design is just advanced placement biblical creationalism. Ugh. Talk about making me gag like I'm getting paid for it. I don't know about y'all, but creating legislation that allows you to shove your religion into school sounds more like indoctrination than letting K through 3 know that gay people exist. But Tennessee was just following Louisiana's lead. The Louisiana Science Education Act of 2008 is an anti-evolution law that became law in 2008. It allows public school teachers to use supplemental materials in the science classroom which are critical of evolution and global warming and promote creationalism as science. You want to know why it's a bad idea to teach alternative religious-based science? Because your fucking crotch goblins will start believing that Aquanet hairspray fights climate change. Now, we're back in 2011. Anti-science Sheila Butt, a Tennessee state representative at the time, told her House colleagues at a debate over the monkey bill, like on record, in front of other people, with ears, that Aquanet hairspray could have saved us from global warming. She said that when she was in high school, they had to give up Aquanet hairspray, but she shouldn't have had to because it could have prevented global warming by absorbing the Earth's rays. Tits on Christ, Sheila. Put down your Bible and pick up a fucking textbook. The world's governments banned chlorofluorocarbons that were used as propellants in aerosol spray cans like Aquanet because they ate a hole in the ozone layer. And since CFCs were banned, the ozone layer has started slowly healing, and experts estimate that by 2050, the ozone layer will be back to the way it looked in 1980. Okay? Now, stay in school, kids, and I don't mean Sunday school. I want everybody to have a great fucking day unless you fight global warming with hairspray.
The content that they make is always hilarious to me. It is funny, it's very scientific, it's very pointed, they use a lot of research and facts, but they put it out there in a way that, well, at least makes us laugh. But it also makes us remember. It makes us remember exactly what it is they're talking about. So they mentioned a ton of things that are very, very important to all of us right now. That being, what is going on with our current government? We have a lot of people who are elected officials who are pushing some very strange laws based on very inaccurate information. And I think to myself, well, where the hell does the inaccurate information come from? Where are they getting this stuff? Well, if you folks have never heard of a lobby, this is where they get their information from. So we're supposed to understand in our wonderful country that we call the United States of America that our officials that we go out and vote for and elect are there to represent us. They're there to represent our needs, our wishes, our wants for the future of our society, both individually and as a whole. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. You're in the middle of my live podcast. So when we learn these things, or we think these things, because that's what school taught us, that this is the process, this is the political process, this is how we maintain freedom. Well, you know what? The one thing I've learned, quite scientifically in fact, is your elected politicians don't give a shit about you, nor have they ever. They just need you because you're voting livestock. You're voter stock. And that's just because there's a piece of paper right now that's just mandating that that's how things have to be done. That little pesky piece of paper says that, well, shit, I just can't seize power. I've got to make these plebes think. that somehow they have a say in their government and how things are going to run. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't. This is all to maintain the great lie. And that is that once they get in office, the office that your vote granted them, that's the last fucking time they're ever going to give two shits about what you say. Unless you're rich, a big, huge enterprise corporate business owner, or an elitist that they trust. You know, like Hollywood. Lobbies. That's who your politicians listen to. And the largest, most pervasive, and vocal lobby right now, pushing their way in and shawshanking their way through the Republican Party, is the evangelical political arm. Well, I can't even call it a political arm. Evangelical, period, has nothing to do with the Bible, Jesus, or religion. It is solely about politics and controlling your behavior. That is their ultimate goal. I can't think of a more leftist thing to do than trying to control everybody's behavior. We've got us a little visitor. Well, hello there. Oh, don't be shy now. My son thought it'd be a good idea to pop in. Just say hi. So, when you're looking at the evangelical movement, it has nothing to do with religion. Now, of course, they will use a lot of religion and their excuses to do things. But they're not stupid people. The people who run the evangelical arm of the lobbies that basically push Republicans to vote on and pass some of the most uneducated, ridiculous, stupid things known to mankind, and then go on national TV and literally talk and admit in front of, like they said, in front of people and say stupid shit. For example, George Bush. I don't think an intelligent thing or coherent thing ever came out of that man's mouth the whole time he was president. He is notably known for making up words in the English language. Telling me that the evangelical push to push people into power has nothing to do with, I don't know, intelligence, charisma, ability, leadership. It's all more to do about obedience. Who are they going to put into office that's going to obey, unapologetically, whatever the evangelical political machine is telling them to do? So if that means pushing obscure, unintelligible verses from the Bible that were mistranslated from 7 different languages before being put there by a bunch of crusty white men in 1942, then damn it, that's what the party's gonna do. So that's what we're seeing, folks. That is exactly what we're seeing. When you turn the news on, and even for those folks who are staunch GOP voters, I'm talking straight ticket, I have no brain, vote for the fucking Republican Party. I want you to take 5 minutes. I want you to take 5 minutes and I want you to digest every single word your political pundits, whether that's Fox fucking News or whatever stupid shit that you watch in the morning, whatever hate machine, and I want you to listen to every word those political pundits are saying. And I want you to really digest. I want you to process the information they're trying to get across to you. Then I want you to use common sense. I want you to use common sense and apply it to everything they just said. You know what's going to happen? You're going to be like, damn, my head hurts. Because when you take science and common sense and just general decency and you apply it to some of the stupid shit that some of your Republican counterparts are saying live on TV, you're going to be like, I think my IQ just dropped. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen on the Democratic side. It absolutely does. I've watched CNN and experienced the exact same phenomenon. Like, holy crap, my IQ just dropped 36 points. We as citizens of the United States of America, as sovereign citizens, human beings in and unto ourselves, all need to realize the general complacency that we have. We vote these people in. We expect them to have our best interest at heart, and then all of a sudden they don't, and we get mad. I've had this conversation with other people in the Alphabet Mafia multiple times. It's like, we have no right to be angry because our own people voted these fuckers in. They allowed this to happen. So rather than being pissy, what are we going to do to fix it? How do we stop the lobby? Eric Beam 007, greetings. Thank you for joining me on Twitch. It's nice to see you. So what do we do? How do we stop the lobbies? How do we stop these huge political movements that just gather shitloads of money to buy politicians and force them to do their bidding to then control our behavior? What is the solution? I would actually appreciate input from my viewers. Tell me, what solution can we come up with to end the lobby? Someone had mentioned we need to tax the churches. I think that's a brilliant idea. Tax the churches at 90%. Everything you give the church, 90% of it goes right back to society. Now, I don't like taxes at all. I don't think there should be any taxes whatsoever. Taxes are the greatest theft ever created. But I am all for taxing churches into non-existence because they've become things that are beyond what I think their saviors, their messiahs, whatever they thought were supposed to be. I'm pretty sure Jesus did not imagine the gigantic, massive mega churches that Joel Osteen preaches from every day. And how dare he even have the audacity to call himself a fucking preacher? He's a thief. He's a disgusting, horrible thief. Because anyone that sits on God's chair and flies around in 2 private jets and has 6 homes worth a combined amount of $50 million, kiss my ass. There are people starving to death in the streets of the United States. There are people addicted to drugs, meth, whatever, who are out there dying in the streets. This piece of shit has a private jet and 6 houses. I don't think so. That is not religion. That is not calling your sheep to be faithful. That is stealing your money to then give it to a political lobby to then control your behavior and keep you stupid and keep you obedient and keep you starving and keep you addicted to drugs. That is their ultimate goal, folks. They don't like people like me. They don't like transgender people because we are the integrated hope that yes, you can be yourself. You can realize your own reality, live your own life unapologetically without anybody else's permission. And that is the real reason why trans people are targeted so heavily by those people. Because we're your glimmer of hope. I'm never going to go back to being the lie that I was. I don't care how many people I make upset. I don't care how many people I piss off. Probably one of the best videos I've seen today, and I'm going to share it with you on my last remaining segment, which I always like to end on a good note, is I will live my life regardless of how many people are offended by it. I don't care. I will continue to use the women's room because I am a woman, whether you agree with it or not. And the angrier you get, the happier I am. So I hope you folks that are listening today who've had the nicety to come in and join me, go home or go wherever it is you're going to go for the remainder of your day or the weekend. Take about 20 minutes to really process some of the things that are being done right now. And for those who are living under a rock, and that's honestly the real majority of people live under a rock, they don't even know. They don't know these laws are being passed, these executive actions are being taken. I had a conversation the other day with someone in my military unit who was asking me, why are you leaving your home? Why are you moving someplace else? What's the big deal? And I said, you don't understand. You obviously don't understand the ramifications of what a governor's executive actions are doing to my family and me. Where I have to live now in fear that uniformed gun-carrying officials are going to kick in my door and take my children because the state fears that I, as a transgender woman, are grooming my kids to be more transgendered people, and damn it, that's child abuse. It's not child abuse. I don't groom my fucking kids. I've never met a trans person that has. But if my child came out and said, Maddie, I think I'm this gender, I'm not going to correct my child and say, no, you're not. You're this one. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. Because that's what a good parent does. We could go the route of the evangelical conservative and I could just beat that conversation out of my kids. But no, that's not what we're going to do here. So let's try to end things on a lighter note. For those folks watching my stream live, we're going to watch this video on demand after the fact. I thought this would be a fantastic way to kind of segue into some more comedic things to give us a good laugh on the way out the door. So let me get this thing loaded up and queued in our system. So this is a person I follow. I think they're from New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, who loves to correct people's horrible, horrible English and spelling. So please enjoy.
Cheam creams. Ketchup. Chicken nuggist. Nugmet. Chicken nut guts. Biscuits and gravy. Scarmumbled eggs. Marsh potato. Hand soup. Oat meat. Skin milk. Crutch papers. Clown meat. Sweating chicken. Dumping.
Sorry, I almost lost it. If you're not seeing the video, it's funny. It's like, wow. So people get mad at spell check. I get mad at spell check, but you know what? I think there needs to be an actual flying robot that goes around spell checking people's shit because you get stuff like this all the time. It's funny, but just damn. Like, I will be the first to admit I am an awful speller. I am a terrible speller. And it's not because I don't know how to spell. I'm just either typing or writing so fast I just don't have time to check my own shit. So, but I always have someone else that does. You know, my wife is so gracious to come in and say, "Hey, sweetie, like that's not how you spell that." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you're right," and I'll go fix it. Or I'll pay someone, you know, because I do run businesses. I have employees like, "Hey, I need you guys to review this because my spelling is abysmal, and I don't want to look stupid." I put stuff out there, but I do it all the time. So no hate, no shade, just it's funny and damn. So now this video is someone I actually started following a little while ago, and I thought this video was fantastic. So I put this out after they put this out. I basically just said, hey, I duetted this. I want it because I want everyone to see this. This entire video is a whole ass vibe. It is a whole ass vibe. Their name is on the video, so if you see them and you want to follow them on TikTok, please do. They deserve all the follows and the love and the likes they can get. I hope you guys enjoy this one because I know I fucking did. That video is great. Now, for those folks, because it didn't have any words, it didn't have any phrases, for the ones who are watching on TikTok, you couldn't see what it said. It said, waking up every morning. And it said, knowing that I'm going to go use the women's room, and it's going to piss all the transphobes off. And then it pans back to the person sitting there, just gracefully looking out their front door at the sunrise, and it just says, bliss. Because it really is. I don't care. I don't care how angry it makes the transphobes. I don't care how angry it makes the conservatives. I'm going to use the women's room. Now, I have a slight advantage against most of the, well, and again, I hate to say this, but facts and statistics support my statement. White cisgendered men seem to have the biggest problem with me going into the women's room. And they tend to be the most violent. So I've only had 2 assault attempts on my person for using the ladies' room. One was at a Walmart, apparently a conservative vestige. And the other one was actually at a fast food restaurant chain in Italy, Texas, where, I mean, I know sometimes I don't present very well, and I shouldn't have to. And that person clocked me And they walked up and immediately began verbally assaulting me, saying, "You can't go in there. That is the women's room. You're just some sick pervert pretending to be a woman." I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "And I have to pee. Could you please leave me alone?" And they didn't leave me alone, so I maced them. Plain and simple. As soon as you touch me, I don't care if it's like a little touch on the shoulder or you're trying to grab my arm, that gentleman grabbed my arm, maced. I maced him right in the open eyeball, and when he screamed, I maced him in his mouth. So he had about a 50 to 65 minute reminder to, and I will put this out to all of my viewers, both the ones who are good people and the ones who are less than good shitty people, that let that 65-minute reminder of mind your own fucking business and keep your goddamn hands to yourself. On that note, that's it for today, folks. Thank you very much for joining me for my show. I am so honored to have you all here. I think you're great people, and I hope to see you Monday for my next show. It'll be episode 24, where hopefully we're going to have another interview, and we're going to go over some of the other bullshit that we learned about, well, political nonsense this weekend. Thank you again. Take it easy, everybody, and I love all of you.